If you have ever hosted on Airbnb and you have not been living under a rock, then you likely heard that New York is implementing this new law and beginning to enforce it as of September. So if you'd like to learn more about how you can navigate around this law, stick around because in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things for you to know about this new law. Hey there, my name is Chichi Aguoji. I'm a New York-based realtor with a focus on helping seniors and retirees sell their homes and find the best locations to retire. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through how you can best navigate this new NYC AirBnB law that's been recently implemented with the goal of getting Airbnb, Vrbo, or any short-term rental platforms to not operate in the New York City market. I'm going to walk you through the rules of this law if you want to continue being able to remain a host on the Airbnb platform. And I'm also going to show you an alternative route if you want to completely circumvent the Airbnb platform, the Vrbo platform, and rent with New York City, how you can go about making even more money than you otherwise would have made if you were hosting on the Airbnb platform. So stick around until the end because I'll be walking you through that process at the very end of the video. So before I get into the top 5 things that you need to know, here are some key stats that you might want to be aware of just to give you a sense of the context and the scale of this law. So the first stat you want to be aware of is this law is likely going to affect 15,000 homeowners in the city of New York, given that as of 2022, there were 15,000 registered New York City homeowners who were renting or serving as hosts on the Airbnb platform. This law is also going to affect Airbnb on a massive scale, given that Airbnb's net revenue in the New York City market alone was $85 million in the year 2022. Now, this is net revenue, not revenue. Net revenue is revenue less immediate expenses, so your cost of goods sold, which means this is as close to profit as you can get. So Airbnb was profiting at a scale of $85 million each year in the New York City market alone. So this new law is definitely going to make a dent in Airbnb's pockets, and it's definitely going to make a dent in the pockets of the 15,000 homeowners who are used to renting with Airbnb. All right, so now let's run through top 5 things that you need to know about this law. The very first thing that I would say that you need to know is what exactly is this law? What is this law saying that homeowners have to do? What does New York City want you to do? So the law essentially says that as a New York City homeowner, you are not allowed to rent out any section of your home for a period of less than 30 days if you are not present on the property while the home is being rented out, if the number of guests is greater than 1, and if the guest does not have full access to the home. So I'm going to flip what I said another way and tell you when you are able to rent your home for a time period of less than 30 days. All right. So in order for us to understand this New York City law, you are able to rent your home for a time period of less than 30 days if your guest has full access to the entire home, if the number of guests is less than 2, so you can only rent it to 1 person at a time, and if you are also present and remain a resident of the property while it's being rented. So under these conditions, you are able to rent your property for a time period of less than 30 days. But the issue is that Airbnb hosts usually don't fall or fit these 3 criteria. And so that's why this law is really going to hit these hosts hard. And that's why Airbnb is also working with the city of New York to help them be able to enforce this law. Now, the second thing you need to know is when does this law go into effect? Now, believe it or not, this law has always been in effect. It's just that it's never been enforced. So the real question that you want to be able to answer is when will this law begin to be enforced? And that answer is as of September 5th, 2023. So that's Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. New York City will begin to enforce this law, whereby if you are considered to be in violation of these laws, you will be charged a fine, and you can be charged a fine of up to $5,000 if you are found to be a repeat offender. However, this law has been messaged for the greater part of this entire year, and so you should have heard something about it, whether it be from Airbnb, whether it be from the news, whether it be from New York City itself. So Airbnb has done, I think, has put in place a lot of constraints to limit hosts to be able to rent their short-term properties after September 5th. So you really shouldn't even be able to be in violation of this law. But if for some reason you are found to be in violation of this law after the 5th of September, then you will incur a fine as a result. The third thing you want to know is, what do you need to do if you want to avoid this fine? And the answer to that question is, you're going to need to now register your property with the City of New York in order for you to be able to host your property on Airbnb platforms or Vrbo platform or any other short-term rental platform. But keep in mind that you're still going to have to abide by the rules that I explained in the first part of the video. So if you don't abide, if you don't fit into those rules, then your application to host under the City of New York will be denied, right? So I wouldn't even bother submitting that application at all. If you're not going to be living on the premises, if you're going to be renting to more than one person at a time, things of that sort. So just make sure that you fit the criteria before you apply to become a host with the City of New York. Now, here are some things to know about the registration process. If your building is on what's called a prohibited building list, then your application is not going to be approved. This list can consist of lists that the City of New York has put together whereby it could be buildings that are rent controlled or rent stabilized or NYCHA apartments. If the city has determined that that building has a certain number or any Department of Building violations, then that building is not going to be allowed to rent apartments or rent space under the Airbnb platform. Fourth thing, which I'm not really seeing a lot of news coverage on, that you might want to know and think about if you decide you want to continue being a host with Airbnb, is that you're likely going to incur additional taxes if your application is approved, if you are able to register with the City of New York and you're still hosting with Airbnb, because now your revenue will not only be reported to the City of New York, it's also going to be reported to the State of New York, it's also going to be reported to the IRS. So you're going to incur federal taxes, and you're also going to incur city taxes, state taxes. There's also a hotel room occupancy tax that you're likely going to incur. And there's also a city nightly room fee that you're probably gonna have to also start paying after you register your space or your home with the City of New York. The final thing you're gonna wanna keep in mind is how the city is actually defining short-term stay, because the city is not counting the number of days. Even though, when you read the news, when you hear people discuss this new law, they're saying a minimum of 30 days. Minimum of 30 days is what's described as a non-short-term stay. But it's actually not a minimum of 30 days. It's a minimum of 30 nights, because day one isn't counted. And if your guest checks out on day 30, then they've actually stayed 29 nights, and that is considered a short-term stay. So you might incur a fine if your guest only stays for 29 nights as opposed to 30 nights. So just remember that the 30 that the city is referring to is not 30 days, but is in fact 30 nights if you want to be able to avoid a charge or avoid a fee as it relates to Airbnb. Okay, so that pretty much summarizes everything you need to know about how to best navigate this new Airbnb law. Those are 5 things that you definitely need to keep in mind if you want to continue becoming a host or being a host in or with the Airbnb platform. I'm going to place some links in the description to help you as you learn more about this law. You'll have the link to apply and submit your apartment or your house to become an approved application with the City of New York so you can be registered with Airbnb. So feel free to peruse those links on your own time. Right now, I want to speak to those individuals who may no longer be interested in hosting on the Airbnb platform, but are still interested in ways to make additional money through renting their apartments or renting their space. So if you're someone who's ever hosted with Airbnb before in the 5 boroughs, you may have charged anywhere from $35 to maybe $60 a night for your room, depending on its location, depending on its size, and whatever amenities that you might have had to offer. And once you charge that, those monies will actually split between yourself, the host, as well as Airbnb. Right? So you're not really getting that full 35 and you're not really getting that full $60 per night because you have to split the difference. Airbnb would take their percentage and then you would get whatever was left. Now, I'm here to tell you that you are still in a position to make as much, if not more, than you were making while you were hosting on Airbnb, and you don't even have to split those monies anymore if you register with the city's voucher program. Now, believe it or not, the city's voucher program will pay you $75 per night. Now, this is the minimum rate. Now, of course, we'll have to get together and do the actual math to see how much you can get. But if you're someone who is still looking for this additional source of income, you no longer want to rent on Airbnb's platform, and you're looking for a legal way to still be able to monetize your space or monetize your apartment, you can register with the city's voucher program and they pay you more than you would have earned with Airbnb, and you don't even have to split the money with anyone else. All right, so if you're interested in learning more about this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to place my email address at the bottom of this video. Send me an email. Let's chat about how I can help you earn as much, or if not more, than you were earning with Airbnb. Hope to hear from you and talk to you soon.